Welcome once more to the hallowed halls of our grand library. Today, in a special edition tale, we dive into the depths of history and tell the story of the Hallow's End and the Headless Horseman. Join me, Hogarth the Orc Slayer, as we weave the tale of this spooky event. In ancient and more peaceful times, Hallow's End was observed in the realm of Lordaeron. It was believed that during this time the boundary between the living and the deceased grew thin, allowing the living to sense the presence of those who had passed on. As tradition dictated, as the harvest season neared its end and the onset of the winter's chill approached, a large straw effigy was constructed just outside of the palace. At sunset during the ceremony, this effigy was set ablaze, creating a mesmerizing spectacle. A colossal flaming wicker man blazing brilliantly against the encroaching night. Every individual had the opportunity to approach the fiery effigy and cast a twig into its crackling flames, symbolizing the act of burning away whatever they wished to leave behind them before the serene, introspective period of winter's enforced stillness. This would often encompass a range of things, from emotions like fears and sorrows to old loves and newfound animosities. This tradition was rooted in the customs of the common folk, a practice that had persisted through countless generations. However, despite the initial peaceful and enjoyable nature of this tradition, the Hallow's End event would soon take a dark and haunting turn.
Hearken, cur, 'tis you I spurn. Listen well and feel the burn!
The ominous twist in the Hallow's End story commences with a member of the Silver Hand, the knight known as Sir Thomas Thompson. Thomas was a modest man and his family owned and operated a pumpkin farm situated in Tyrrisful Glades, located just southwest of Agamand Mills. This fateful story commences during the Third War, precisely when the Scourge invasion of Lordaeron was unfolding. Following the commands of Kel'Thuzad and the Lich King, corrupted grain was distributed to Azeroth's inhabitants by the Cult of the Damned. Assisted by his devoted cultists, Kel'Thuzad and Mal'Ganis employed the agricultural centre of Andorol as a hub for transporting plague-infected grain to nearby towns in Lordaeron such as Brill and Stratholme. Those infected with the plague usually succumbed within 3 days, only to be reanimated as mindless zombies under the powerful psychic influence of the Lich King. Prince Arthur's Menethil arrived in Stratholme to discover it had already fallen victim to the tainted grain. Aware that the citizens were on the brink of transformation into cursed undead, he made the infamous decision to execute them all.
This entire city must be purged. How can you even consider that?
And this was all done despite the objections of Uther the Lightbringer. Our knight in question, Sir Thomas, was a council member who observed and agreed with Uther the Lightbringer and Jaina Proudmoore's resolution to decline Arthas's plan to purge Stratholme. Sir Thomas and the other paladins would turn away from Arthas and continue the war against the Scourge. His faith in their holy cause wavered even more when he observed the well-known prosperous landholder Baron Rivendare's treacherous act of sending a large shipment of plagued grain to a village Sir Thomas was tasked with defending. When the villagers transformed into relentless zombies, Thomas comprehended that Rivendare had betrayed them and informed the other Silver Hand paladins. After this, Thomas received the distressing news of Prince Arthas's return from Northrend and the slaying of his own father. He strongly believed that the roots of this crime ran much deeper than Arthas's journey to Northrend, with the events of Stratholme serving as an ominous precursor. Just 5 days later, he learned of Arthas's murder of Uther and the loss of many fellow paladins. In a desperate bid to safeguard his family against the unfolding events in Lordaeron, he instructed his wife to take the children and seek refuge in Kalimdor following Jaina. While he chose to remain in Lordaeron with the Silver Hand, his mission was to combat and vanquish the Scourge. Thomas then spent the next 4 years fighting alongside other paladins led by the Ashbringer Alexandros Mograine. He was resolute in the battle against the Scourge under the guidance of Saidan Dathrahan. Dathrahan was one of the original 5 paladins of the Knights of the Silver Hand, a figure that Sir Thomas deeply admired. However, the Silver Hand's unity shattered when Reno Mograine wielded the Ashbringer and murdered his own father. After witnessing High Inquisitor Fairbanks' persuasion of the Argent Dawn to depart the area, Thomas opted to remain and align himself with the Scarlet Crusade. Following the Third War and an assault on the Scourge-held Stratholme, Seidan became separated from the group and was taken captive by the Dreadlord, Balnazar. The demon, in an act of violence, ended Seidan's life and took possession of his body. With his dark magic, Balnazar preserved and possessed the body of Seidan Dathrahan. Now disguised as the esteemed holy warrior, the Dreadlord believed he could manipulate most of the remaining paladins to serve his sinister purposes. After the scourging of Lordaeron, Seidan and Alexandros gathered the surviving members of their order at Hearthglen. Tyrion Fordring's son Tylan welcomed them, and together, acting as agents of the Scarlet Crusade, devised plans for combating the undead threat. One fateful day, the possessed Seidan Dathrahan arrived at a refugee-filled town, with Sir Thomas and his comrades in tow. The refugees welcomed them in, thinking it was just part of a routine plague inspection, but over time Dathrahan managed to persuade Thomas that the populace was in fact contaminated, and unlike the Stratholme incident, due to his unwavering allegiance, Thomas participated in the massacre of these refugees. However, with the darkening of this tale, Thomas was unaware of his family's fate. They had not reached Kalimdor as he had hoped. The ship he placed them on encountered an unexpected storm, causing severe damage before it could set sail. In the midst of the chaos that had befallen Lordaeron, there were no shipwrights available to repair it, and the remaining ships were already overcrowded. This forced the former passengers, including his own family, to find shelter wherever they could. Tragically, it was by pure misfortune that led to Thomas's family taking refuge in the very town he had been deceived into purging. He unwittingly ended the lives of his own family, and did so before the truth became painfully apparent. This harrowing incident plunged Thomas into a deep descent of psychological distress. After being subdued and placed into captivity by his comrades, his derangement continued to worsen, causing him to utter unhinged rhymes in various cadences and pitches.
Face me and die! You have no choice! No man or beast shall quell my voice!
Seidan devised a plan to aid him, although the Dreadlord was the actual source of his madness, and Seidan assigned him to battle the undead during the forthcoming Hallow's End festival. Unfortunately, this only exacerbated Thomas's lunacy, and he indiscriminately slew both allies and enemies during this battle against the Scourge. Ultimately, the Crusaders had no choice but to execute him, and they did so by the means of beheading. Dathrahan resolved to provide an honourable burial for the fallen Crusader in the Scarlet Monastery. When alone with the body within the tomb, Dathrahan, actually Balnazar in disguise, employed his own blood and dark powers to reanimate Thomas's lifeless form, giving birth to the deranged undead human we know as the Headless Horseman. Now bearing the name of the Headless Horseman, his sole remaining purpose in this tormented afterlife is to sow dread and discord during the Hallow's End festival, and to do so for the rest of eternity. As each Hallow's End approaches, adventurers throughout Azeroth brace themselves for the haunting agony of the Headless Horseman, and this year is certainly no different. Throughout the Hallow's End season, the spectral figure of the Headless Horseman inflicts torment upon the villages of the Horde and the Alliance throughout Azeroth, frequently engulfing buildings in flames and subjecting the residents to his haunting presence. In retaliation to the torment, adventurers hailing from every corner of the world all converge on Scarlet Monastery graveyard in the days leading up to the Hallow's End. It's an annual tradition where they embark on the same heroic quest, charging into the monastery and confronting the Headless Horseman with unwavering bravery. And every year, as it appears the horseman is defeated, adventurers eagerly loot his remains, claiming various trinkets such as his hood, sword, rings, and even his nightmarish steed. Yet a grim truth prevails. This malevolent entity returns every Hallow's End, defying defeat and resurrecting into the same dreadful horror, persistently tormenting the denizens of Azeroth year after year. In the same way that water counterbalances fire, darkness accompanies light, and where there is pain, there is also joy. Hallow's End is that special time of year where adventurers from all corners of the world gather to feast until they are, well, sick, and drink until they're merry. Inns far and wide join in the festive spirit, participating in trick-or-treating, offering adventurers small treasures like Hallow's End masks, candies, chocolates, and even the beloved gnomish, nutritional, effervescent, remarkably delicious sweets, fondly known as nerds. Intriguingly, some innkeepers may entice you to perform amusing acts in exchange for treats. You might be asked to mimic a train for a gumdrop, show off your muscles for a piece of nougat, dance on the spot for some marzipan, or even briefly transform into a chicken, all for the delightful reward of a refreshing mint. And don't forget, do remember to be vigilant about your appearance. It's during this season when fellow adventurers might play a mischievous trick on you. Using a hallowed wand, they could potentially transform you into something delightfully mysterious. Now, when it comes to playful pranks, in the midst of this Hallow's End event, adventurers seize the opportunity to deploy stink bombs in the rival factions' cities. This Hallow's End event is not all about darkness and gloom, there's plenty of mischief to be had. Oh, and by the way, be on the lookout for those sinister squashlings. Once those creatures acknowledge you as their master, they tend to linger relentlessly. Hallow's End commemorates the moment when the group of undead, eventually recognised as the Forsaken, broke away from the Lich King's control and reclaimed their freedom. They observed the significant event by igniting a Wickerman, following a brief address from Sylvanas herself, and anointing their faces with the resulting ashes. Following the cataclysm, the Worgen from Gilneas have shared a more profound comprehension of Hallow's End origins with their allies in the Alliance. They notably reintroduced the tradition of kindling a Wickerman. During the Hallow's End event festivities, Gen Greymane has been invited to address the celebrants gathered just outside the gates of Stormwind, much like Sylvanas' role near the entrance of the Undercity. Amidst a time of immense suffering and harrowing events, it's vital to acknowledge that not everything is shrouded in darkness. On the flip side of the great anguish that sweeps across Azeroth, there persists a spirit of fun and joy. As we reflect on the tragic tale of Sir Thomas Thompson and the haunting events of his family's demise, along with the enduring traditions of those who once celebrated the close of the harvest season, this time of year stands as an ideal opportunity to unite with friends and family. And from the Karazhan Library itself, we extend to you warm wishes for a happy Halloween. As always, join us next week for another thrilling adventure, but for now, may the light always illuminate your path.
Prepare yourselves, or be overwhelmed. The horseman descends upon this realm! Ha 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 ha!